What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Okay, I apologize right off the jump. We're talking about Kilmar Abrego Armando Garcia, or whatever the hell his name is. There's an update to the story. There's been some furtherance in the case, if you will. So we've got to keep an update. But I've also got some more news, some fresh news, something that I just love. It was just a cherry on the top. Yeah, let's get into this right quick. Check this out, y'all. Judge pauses Abrego Garcia case after parties reach secret agreement. I wonder what that secret agreement was, huh? Apparently, the Trump administration is finally doing enough to facilitate the release of the mistakenly deported Kilmar Abrego Garcia to satisfy his lawyers, at least for now. U.S. District Judge Paula Zinnes of Maryland on Wednesday night ordered the case paused for a week at the agreement of the parties. Her order came after dueling filings earlier in the day, with the government asking for the pause and Abrego Garcia's lawyers initially opposing it. Both filings were under seal, so it's not clear precisely what was initially in dispute, what has been agreed to, or what the government revealed that convinced the judge that the delay was not just more gamesmanship from the Trump DOJ. As Morning Memo described in some detail yesterday, the Trump administration's request for a pause would be a plausible move in a normal world where it was acting in good faith to secure Abrego Garcia's release and didn't want the details of its efforts to become public yet in court filings. But the Trump administration has consistently acted in bad faith throughout these proceedings, and a request for delay was consistent with its numerous other efforts to stonewall in the case. Yes, because the Trump administration is looking at this case like, are you people really that insane? Are y'all that illiterately stupid? Like that y'all think that, oh, let's just go get Kilmar Abrego Garcia, bring him back just to send him right back again? Do you think that any judge in the country is going to look at everything that we've brought up, look at the case, in other words, look at everything under the case in its totality and say, yeah, we think this is a good guy, let's release him into the country just to let him go about his business? No. Oh, no, absolutely not. They're looking at this and they see it. Okay, we're going to bring him back, and then what is going to happen? He's going to finish whatever proceeding, do his court thing, and then we're going to have to ship him right back because he's going to get his orders for deportation just like he did in 2019. There is no world where this guy stays in the United States. This is why I've been saying for a while, Democrats are going to die on this hill, because there is no reality where this guy just is allowed to roam free throughout the United States. I'm sorry. I hate to break it to you Democrats. I don't know what you guys are thinking on this one, but this is a losing issue for you guys. This is an 80-20 issue, right? We've got the polls. We've seen the polls. 75% of Americans agree with the deportations. Either all criminal aliens or most. 75%. That's insane. And it's 50% that say we should just get rid of all of them. The numbers do not lie, folks. They do not lie, absolutely. We're left to speculate about what exactly is happening, but it's fair to say that neither the trial judge nor Abrego Garcia's attorneys would have been likely to accede to a delay without concrete and verifiable representations and assurances from the Trump administration. To this point, the administration has played fast and loose in the case. Fast and loose. It's done its damn job. That's what it's done. It hasn't played fast and loose. These activist judges are the ones playing fast and loose, right? The administration does whatever it does under the Constitution. It carries out its duties as per the mandate from the election. And then all of a sudden, these activist judges start screaming constitutional crisis. Like, you guys are causing the constitutional crisis. These activist judges are insane. That's the only way to put it. Like, seriously, there was a Bush-appointed judge, for crying out loud, in the executive order for the Trump administration to ban transgender individuals, put a universal injunction, and said no. No means no. We must allow these people, and we must allow all. He put a nationwide decree saying that the Trump administration has to allow everybody into the military. Now, that might not sound crazy right from the jump, But when you think about that for a second, that means you could be having MS-13 gang members who are in the country illegally sign up and go into the military, for crying out loud. You could have a serial killer sign up into the military. They can't do any sort of background check, none of that stuff, right? Like, they must be allowed, regardless of the background check, blah, 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 blah. These people, this is just outright insane. But, you know, there was I almost covered a story. A petition was filed today for the Supreme Court to overturn that injunction, as a matter of fact. And I am still waiting on the damn Trump administration to bring the unconstitutionality of these universal injunctions to the eyes of the Supreme Court. Now, I'm not so sure on this one because, you know, that would be taking away power, kind of, from the federal district courts. Now, that's not the Supreme Court. But I think, you know, it's like, is Congress ever going to, you know, legislate powers away from itself? Not often. I mean, they kind of do. Look with the IEEPA, I think. Whatever the emergency declaration that gives the president powers to, which is what Donald Trump is using to impose tariffs, essentially. I think it's the IEEPA, but I'm not 100% sure. Don't quote me on that. I'll admonish myself later if I need to. But, you know, it's just outright insanity what is going on. But so you know, I don't necessarily see, I could see it going both ways. In other words, the Supreme Court saying, you know, if the Supreme Court is ruling fairly, they're going to look at the Constitution, they're going to look at these universal injunctions and say, no, I don't think so. These are not constitutional. Now, an injunction on the defendants or the plaintiffs of whatever case, or defendants, you know, it would squarely fall under that jurisdiction, essentially, but not nationwide, right? The nationwide injunctions is the problem. Stopping, you know, basically they're ruling outside of their jurisdiction, right? Like, these federal districts are districts for a reason, and these nationwide injunctions are nationwide. So, once again, that's unconstitutional. Now, if you want to rescind that power, or ascend that power, I guess, to the Supreme Court, I can see that one, okay? I get it. I still don't think that would fly over very well, but I could see the Supreme Court doing that. But not a federal district court. That's just absurd on its face. But I'm still waiting on the Trump administration to do that. Despite court orders to the contrary, it has gone so far as to take the position in court that if Abrego Garcia somehow got himself released from detention in El Salvador and showed up at the U.S. border or at a U.S. embassy, he would be taken into custody and either removed to a third country or returned to El Salvador. That is right, and that is fair. He got his deportation orders, actually, in parallel with defying court orders. You love how they frame this. Defying court orders, including from the Supreme Court. No, they're not defying the order. They said facilitate this, and I mean, what does that mean? You have to define facilitate, as a matter of fact, especially when you're talking about a guy in another country's custody, as a matter of fact. And they also said in that order that the corporate press always just forget to put into this, that the Supreme Court acknowledges that it cannot compel the administration to conduct foreign policy, which is what that would be. The administration has launched a full-scale propaganda campaign against Abrego Garcia that has included the participation of the president, Attorney General Pam Bondi, and top White House officials. Yeah, you want to know what this propaganda campaign is? Releasing court records. As a matter of fact, it's funny. In one episode, that's what they're calling it, episode, the Department of Homeland Security apparently seeking to impugn Abrego Garcia. You love that, huh? Oh, no, it's not the Justice Department that impugned Abrego Garcia. This is court records. Abrego Garcia impugned himself corporate press. You are lying. You are framing this story in such a light to try to make Abrego Garcia seem like freaking Jesus over here, and the Department of Homeland Security and, Trump's administration to be the evil villains in the background, just laughing. Blah, we've got him in custody. No, are you freaking kidding me here? These people are so insane with their stupid narratives, they don't realize how ridiculous they look. It makes these people look like they have zero IQ. When you deny reality and just put up this narrative, you look really stupid. Really stupid. Oh God, posted on social media an application for a domestic violence restraining order that his wife had once sought. She got that restraining order, as a matter of fact, and had an entire handwritten letter to go along with it. The court filing included their home address, forcing his wife to move to a safe house. That is right, she was scared for her life. There is photographic evidence from the local police that Kilmar Abrego Garcia gave her black eyes, beat her half to death, as a matter of fact. And once again, this is the guy that Democrats are upholding as Jesus. Once again, folks, these people, they care more for the criminal than they do for the American citizen. They don't care about your safety. These types of stories really piss me off, because Democrats, they're always standing on their moral high horse over here, looking down upon evil Republicans, while taking up for criminals at the same time. None of it makes any sense. And it's the height of scumbaggery, if you will. Just the height of scumbaggery. For the time being, the constitutional clash that was playing out in this case is in abeyance. But the administration is still playing fast and loose elsewhere, as the next item shows. This is where you're going to love this one, y'all. Trump administration does the old switcheroo. Gotta love it. In a case out of Massachusetts that has flown mostly below the radar, the Trump administration revealed last night that it sidestepped a court order barring removals of migrants to third countries without notice and an opportunity for review, but purporting to transfer custody of detainees from DHS to DOD and letting the Pentagon transport them to El Salvador. Got to love the Trump administration, folks. You gotta love it. Okay, so these insane judges say you can't deport criminal aliens for some freaking reason. It's insane. But they say, no, the Department of Homeland Security cannot deport criminal aliens. So what does the Trump administration do? My hat is off. I don't wear a hat, by the way. But my hat is off to whoever was standing around, right? I imagine they were just standing around in a big circle talking about these activist judges like, yeah, they're stupid, blah, 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 blah. That's nonsense, right? And some guy was just like, I've got it. This court order says that the Department of Homeland Security cannot deport these people. Let's have the Department of Defense do it. Freaking genius. And then everybody cheered. That's how I imagine that went down. Everybody cheered. Love it. The government is taking the extremely dubious legal position that because DOD wasn't party to the case, it was not subject to the court order. Ryan Goodman has the details on his latest defiance of court orders. You've got to love it, folks. You've got to love the Trump administration. This is pure, unadulterated genius, in my opinion. Yes, I love it, right? I said 6-8 months ago, if Donald Trump comes into office and he starts defying court orders, I'm going to be pissed. Well, I had no idea that we would get such insanity from activist judges. I really figured that at least they would try to stay within the boundaries of the Constitution. But they're clearly not doing that, folks. To say that the Trump administration cannot use certain parts of the Constitution because it hurts Democrats' feelings. Yeah. Cannot use the Alien Enemies Act. because it hurts their feelings. Oh, no. They said he could use it, but they have to go through a hearing beforehand, pretty much negating the point of the Alien Enemies Act. We talked about this the other day. It's blatantly insane. Yes, blatantly insane. Everybody knows it. It's nuts what they're doing, but I love this. They just skirt around the court orders. Hey, it is what it is, folks. You should have played your cards right, Democrats. That's all I'm going to say on this. But you love how the corporate press, they try to impugn Abrego Garcia. No, I'm sorry. That's court records, by the way, police records. Yes, he impugned himself. Once again, folks, they completely ignore. They call him a Maryland man for some reason when he's an El Salvadorian national that came into the country illegally. Like, this is nuts. Democrats seem to think that you can come into the country illegally. You can just walk right in, go anywhere the hell you want to go. But when it comes time for you to leave, oh, you got to go through a court. You got to have habeas hearings and all this other nonsense. That's BS, folks. It really is BS. But you know what? Honestly, I get it. That is intended to make sure that the federal government does not deport American citizens. I get it. But, you know, the federal government, all they would have to do is prove it. Prove the guy, hey, tell the person, prove you're not an American citizen, or prove you are an American citizen if you claim to be one. Pretty much all they got to do is sit down with a CIS agent. They're going to investigate. They're going to run a background check right quick to see if you're in the system, see if you have a social security number, see if they can look up birth certificate records, whatever they need to right quick. That's all that needs to be done. These people do not need to go to what's the hearing going to be about? What's this due process for? Like, seriously. When you can have a CIS agent just run a background check on this person. If they come up in the system, then boom, they're probably an American citizen, or they're characterized otherwise, right? Like as a criminal alien, if they were caught by CBP agents or something like that. There's easy ways to do this. We do not need to have all these people tied up in court proceedings, sitting in detention, for crying out loud. Look, a lot of these people, sure, it's a crime, right? It's civil. Like, Democrats love to make that argument. It's still a crime regardless. And you can still be called a criminal for breaking the law, breaking federal laws by entering the country illegally. But look, that's not a crime like you really need to be sitting in jail for, right? So these people, they get caught, right, being in the country illegally, and they have to sit in detention. That's absurd, y'all. I feel bad for these people for having to do this. Sure. Do they deserve it? Yeah. But, entering a country illegally, maybe a month in jail at the most. At the most. And that's kind of a harsh penalty, in my opinion. The very least, just kick them out of the country right quick. That's what we should be doing. But Democrats don't want that. No, what they want in their perfect world is to have these people just stay in the country. That's it. But, we got to do due process. Well, you know what that's going to entail, Democrats? That's going to entail these people, once again, sitting in detention for months and months and months and months until this due process works itself out. Do you guys really want these people sitting in a cell, for crying out loud, for that long? No, it's absurd. They don't deserve to sit in a cell. They deserve to go back to their freaking home country. It's insane. Plus, he's not an asylum seeker. Now, if he was somebody that was seeking asylum, that would be a different story, because then you have a hearing, you go to court proceedings and all that, and a judge determines whether there's a threat from your home country or not. Right? Now that's due process. But if you're not claiming asylum, you're just in the country illegally, there's no due process in the traditional sense, if you will. It's basically, once again, a CIS agent, doing a background check, making sure you're a citizen or you're not. If you're not, you expedited removal. You're going by. If you are, we apologize, folks. These people are insane, though. They really are, and I can't stress that enough. It is absurd what Democrats are wanting to do. Like the normal process, they sit in a cell for a while until they get deported. That's absurd. But the Biden administration said, oh, well, that's cruel and unusual punishment. Like, think about that for a second. How are you going to deport somebody if you have no idea where they're at? If you just release these people out into the wild? Right. The Biden administration had no intention on deporting anybody that they released. That's what that tells you. I mean, seriously. That is exactly what that tells you. It's insane, these people. But I think that's all I got on this one. I want y'all to let me know what y'all think about all this down in the comment section. How do you like the high IQ on whoever it was in the Trump administration said, hey, let's let the DOD do this. Screw it. They're not party to that litigation. Might as well. But y'all let me know what y'all think. Y'all don't forget to smash that like button. Y'all try to have a good day. Do everything backwards as hell. Might as well. Peace. Stay legitical.